What happens when you pit one of the wackiest Marvel anti-heroes against one of its most deranged supervillains? That's the exact question author Cullen Bunn asked himself when he set out to create the comic storyline Deadpool vs. Carnage. In this 4-part Marvel story, we're made to ponder one important life question. Who would win the big fight? A psychotic alien with unlimited sharp tentacles, or the Merc with a mouth who is seemingly equipped with infinite ammo, various firearms, and many blades? Get your symbiotes running and sharpen your blades, cause all bets are out on this one. Let's get ready to rumble. Bunn's crazy entry into the Marvel Universe Deadpool vs. Carnage opens up with a bang, natural-born killer style. What first looks like an ordinary day at Bunn's truck stop, one of those typical diners one encounters on a road trip, escalates quickly as it turns into a literal bloodbath. Now, who is responsible for repainting the walls the color of the setting sun? Let's find out. The scene starts with a police officer, arguably in his 50s, as he reads a newspaper reporting that the one and only Carnage has escaped from prison once more. The officer, seemingly talking to himself, as any sane person does, talks about his shoot first, ask questions later policy when it comes to psychopaths on the loose. But it won't take long before he regrets sharing his opinion out loud because, you see, the man sitting right next to him was none other than the red-haired convict, Cletus Cassidy, and he was not having it. Not today, Satan. As fast as lightning, Carnage emerged from the serial killer and went right for the policeman's face, literally blowing his mind. Boom! What ensues is, to put it in simple terms, pandemonium. You think Carnage would settle for bacon and eggs with a dark coffee for breakfast? Of course not. Every single diner guest gets their turn. But before you, dear viewer, get to see the carnage that ensues, we switch to Deadpool, casually watching the report of said event on TV. While Wade eats in full costume what seems to be a bowl of mac and cheese, he decides to switch channels because the image shown on TV makes him lose his appetite. A surprising reaction from someone who has seen and caused more bloodshed than the Sinister Six combined. As Deadpool zaps from one channel to another, the dialogue he catches from every TV show seems to spell out something to him. Is it trying to send him a message? What could it be? That seems very logical. That is, if you are insane as he is. Anyway, that little TV break gives him the impression that the image box is asking him to go out there and end Carnage. A challenge which, full of maniacal glee, he gladly accepts. Now, any regular hero would get his detective hat on and strategically look for clues about the whereabouts of Carnage or interview people he might have passed by, right? But not good old Deadpool. He walks outside in full Deadpool attire and stands in the middle of what looks like Times Square and asks the universe to give him a sign. I know that doesn't seem like much of a plan, but in the Merc with a mouth's world, anything is possible. Heck, how many times has he broken the fourth wall by now? Anyway, let's get back to our horses, shall we? So Deadpool is just standing there looking for a sign when a sketchy looking guy is walking around with something in a box that seems to be dripping blood, leaving a trail. A sign? You betcha. So the anti-hero follows the trail to a butcher shop when an enraged redhead comes storming out of the store. Cassidy, is that you? False alarm. It was just a regular guy going to get a beer at the convenience store next door. But a hint is nearby. Maybe that kid playing at the arcade knows something. Or not. But Deadpool is sure that he is on the right track, and surprisingly enough, he was. What will soon lead to his big fight against Carnage reveals itself in the form of two magazines. One has Cassidy's face on the front cover, while the other shows a modern-day ghost town. Deadpool puts two and two together and heads south to Tulsa, Oklahoma. There, Cassidy enjoys a bit of fresh air in his undies as he wishes to stop trying to conquer worlds or cities and vows to go back to simple, beautiful, random Carnage. As he was enjoying the fresh morning air, something seemed to make its way towards him. Is it just me or my spider senses tingling? The object slowly coming into view is revealed to be in fact a huge missile aimed right towards his pretty face. Yep, I definitively sensed a tingle here. The house obviously blows up and Cassidy is only saved by the symbiote as he prepares to face Deadpool head on. What ensues is a mad exchange of bullets, blades, grenades, and very sharp insults. Victory was almost at hand for Deadpool after he force-fed Carnage a whole grenade, losing himself a few fingers in the process when someone unexpectedly crashes the party. As Deadpool's face melts away, Carnage is suddenly saved by Shiek, who is wearing an apron and is dressed as a waitress for reasons. What is Shiek actually doing here? What's her motive? And most importantly, why is she in full cosplay? The battle is just getting started, my friends, and believe me when I say you have no idea how crazy it'll get. But before we get into the heat of the battle, please be sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on and hit that like button for more plot armor content. The second issue opens up in quite the dramatic way. After Shiek literally fries Deadpool's face, Carnage goes for the kill by impaling the Merc, a trademark attack of his, while asking how he found him. While Deadpool's luck leaves us with a lot of questions, the Merc simply tells Carnage that he followed patterns, which enrages the symbiote, who swore to obey by no rule and follow utter chaos and only that. Continuing with a wave of attacks, Deadpool seems to be toast until he reveals two speakers hooked to his belt. Inspired by his time working with the black symbiote Venom, Deadpool reveals that he knows everything about the one weakness that most of these pesky vicious aliens share: a terrible aversion to some sound frequencies. Deadpool then happily proceeds to blast, for better or worse, one of the most iconic sounds from the early 2010s, dubstep. This sends the symbiote flying away from its host Cletus Cassidy, and by association, from Deadpool himself. While that plan sounded like an excellent one at first, Deadpool, being easily distracted as he is, totally forgot about the presence of Shiek on the scene. The sound-powered mutant then shoots a powerful yellow beam directly at Deadpool, breaking apart his two speakers. The battle is on, and now it's 2 against 1. But thankfully, Wilson, who surprisingly seemed to have done his homework this time, came armed with a bunch of incendiary grenades, fire being another commonly known weakness of symbiotes. He then decides to throw 2 of these babies right at Carnage's feet, and then nothing. Nothing happens. That's odd. Oh wait, Wade just forgot he rigged the explosives to remote detonators. Click, boom! As Deadpool celebrates his victory in front of an amazingly bright bonfire, Carnage's tentacle-like limbs pass right through the flames, gutting Deadpool. Carnage only survived the attack thanks to Shriek's levitating abilities, and as Wilson is left for dead, the 2 psychopathic lovebirds fly away from the scene. At this point, things are not looking good for our Deadpool. But what could possibly put him on par with a gooey alien who has arms and teeth as sharp as a bloody katana? What if Deadpool could get his hands on the Venom symbiote? After all, we already know they worked together in the past. I'll let you ponder for now, but let's just say Deadpool has a few other tricks up his sleeves. After the altercation, Deadpool's suit looks more like a one-piece swimsuit than something you'd wear to fight supervillains and other not-so-nice creatures, so he decides to stop by one of the many storage places he keeps around the country in case of emergencies such as these. But a problem arises. It looks like Deadpool did miss a few of his last payments, so his stored spare suits and weapons have been auctioned off to some suburban guy named Doverton. It turns out the very round Doverton has been following his, career very meticulously. His living room looks like some kind of unhinged detective's office who has been trying to track a serial killer for years. Newspaper clippings and photos of Deadpool and Carnage can be found scattered on the wall, next to a huge map of the United States, which at first glance seems to indicate where the supervillain, the anti-hero, and apparently Venom have been seen in the past few weeks. While Doverton seems to be quite the organized detective, he basically acts on instinct like Deadpool, as he believes that Carnage attacked the town of Doverton, which shares the same surname as he does. It's unclear how many other connections he has found at this stage, but one thing is for sure: he will help Deadpool find Carnage's next destination. Jump to Cassidy and Shiek, now living their best lives at the wheel of a red convertible, just driving to nowhere, when suddenly Deadpool Deadpool's voice is heard coming from a radio sitting in the back seat. It turns out Deadpool is sitting right in front of them in a giant mower which has been towed, one which he lets loose in order to shred the car to smithereens. After Shriek's face goes through the front shield, Cassidy suddenly goes into rage, instantaneously summoning the red symbiote. The duel starts once more as Carnage ejects Deadpool from the mower, sending him flying in the air, Team Rocket style. Round 2. Fight! The fight begins with Deadpool suggesting both wackos might be starting a, and I quote, burgeoning bromance. Talk about misreading the signs. Launching the first attack, Carnage clearly shows his intention of putting Deadpool in the friend zone. Deadpool counterattacks with the katana slash right in the neck as Carnage impales him once more. The mercenary's non-stop yapping enrages the alien, also known as Red, giving him the upper hand as the fire from the wreckage around them slowly spreads, stopping all traffic while not stopping curious idiots to watch the show unfold on the highway. In a surprising twist, Deadpool, who stands impaled in the air, leaves guns and swords aside to try another tactic to get to Carnage: psychological manipulation, a weapon, as you will see later, that can act as a double-edged sword. Before being thrown away at full force, Deadpool tries to convince Carnage that what he calls chaos is an imaginary friend, that all of this randomness he is seeking is just an illusion, and that everything has meaning and can somewhat be predicted. After that moment of clarity, Deadpool lands on a truck spilling his guts all over the pavement, and does what any crazy would do in a situation like this: try to find more clues about where Carnage is heading next, of course. He starts by trying to pick up words coming from the crowd of curious phone-wielding witnesses when his sight falls on a specific word printed on the truck driver's uniform: Mercury. He then turns around and sees the word team on a nearby school bus before scratching his revealed brain and wondering what Mercury Team was. Before we go back to Cletus Cassidy on the run, let's pause and quickly unpack what is that so-called Mercury Team. The team was originally created by the US of A's army in order to fight and capture Carnage. It comprises 4 military members who each own a symbiote: Agony, Phage, Lasher, and Riot. When together, these symbiotes can merge and create the unstoppable hybrid, something to keep in mind for later in today's video. Alright, let's get back on the road. While Deadpool was trying to find the meaning behind all these signs he encountered, Carnage was busy abducting a whole family with his unconscious girlfriend in the backseat of a van. While he kept terrifying the whole family and threatening the little ones, he too started to see signs everywhere. Reading through tourist pamphlets, and most precisely the one about weird places, an idea started to germinate in Carnage's twisted mind. In the meantime, Deadpool was riding in the sunset tracking signs: a cloud the shape of Carnage's face, a dead dog on the road, a Mexican-themed family restaurant, rednecks gutting something, or someone. Before finally arriving at yet another ghost town, Deadpool then stops by the van we saw earlier to only find traces of what spells out massacre. As Deadpool is busy inspecting the town for more clues pointing to Carnage's whereabouts, Mercury Team is finally introduced, but only briefly as Carnage infiltrates their base through an air vent, wiping out the whole team, or at least its humans. It doesn't take long for Deadpool to find the elevator to a poorly guarded, top-secret military complex, and it takes even less time for him to be ambushed by Carnage and sliced into little hors d'oeuvres. Carnage's plan was to slice him to bits, as it would take him way more time to regenerate and set the whole place on fire to watch him burn. But someone, or something, survived the initial attack on the complex as a dark spider dog shaped thing approaches the mercenary, or what's left of him anyways. 4 symbiotes, one black, one yellow, one purple, and a blue one suddenly takes hold of Deadpool as he turns into a really cool yet terrifying hybrid Deadpool, with an extra doggo companion armed with a set of teeth that could easily munch through solid metal. The game is on, and Carnage is about to get served with a side of hallucinations. From this point forward, anything, and I say anything, is possible. Whatever you do, don't trust your eyes. If Deadpool has survived this far without any outside help, all odds are on his side now that he has leveled up with 4 symbiotes, don't you think? But who knows, with a wild card such as Carnage, he did defeat them before with a surprise attack after all. So begins the last chapter in this insane chase riddled with signs, so buckle up. Carnage's last stop is at Carrington's Cottage Psychiatric Hospital, where he hallucinates the words Carnage Psycho, calling him through the Institute's name. The Psycho on the Run then interviews a bunch of patients and doctors about the meaning of chaos and randomness. It turns out Deadpool did actually get into his messed up head of his with all his ramblings. But when we think about it, was it actually a good thing to do, considering that Carnage is now repainting the psych ward in fresh red? After blowing up one of the doctor's heads on a wall, Carnage gets the same treatment as a bullet coming from a sniper hits him. Deadpool is still out there, but this time, it's personal. The enhanced anti-hero launches his symbiote canine right through the window and at Carnage, while the little sanity left of Carrington's unstable patients goes out the window at the same time. A now conscious Shiek is still in full cosplay, but this time as a sexy nurse. Blasts Lasher, the dog symbiote, right in the chest. Lashes then turns into Carnage in a flash, confusing the hell out of Shiek as she goes mental about it and runs away screaming like a madwoman. Now laying on the floor is hybrid Deadpool, posing like one of those French maids, before launching a full attack on Red. Shots are then fired, and Carnage is trapped through a hook as Deadpool makes him crash through a concrete wall. That obviously only scratches the Crimson symbiote's surface, who regenerates at an alarming rate. The discussion about the meaning of their actions continues as they tear at each other, when Deadpool points out how the two loonies are in reality connected and somehow very similar in nature, going to the extent of calling himself Carnage's spirit animal. If Carnage wasn't already mad, all this questioning and self-doubt would surely have driven him to the edge. And as hybrid Deadpool draws swords, Carnage suddenly vanishes. Looking for Shiek and the meaning of life itself, Carnage is seen walking the dark corridors of the Institute until he spots Deadpool lurking, swords in hand, ready for action. Pouncing from behind, he goes for the kill when he suddenly realizes he had just attacked Shiek, who was actually covered in the 4 symbiotes. Talking to himself, Carnage refuses to admit he did wrong and denies being punished for not listening. And this is where, dear readers, we are usually heading towards an epic final battle, but not today, I'm afraid. It's now morning. The police and ambulance are here to fix the damage. It looks like Cassidy turned himself in, and not unlike any of us, the police officers are wondering why he did so, and if there is a motive behind it. Sitting in full symbiote, Carnage just sits there in his cell and says,
"Gonna sit right here till I'm left alone, till I'm my own man again, and then I'm gonna find Deadpool and make him pay for trying to peel my eyes open."
Leaving us with a cliffhanger. Carnage only hints at the coming horrors he will commit once he made up his mind and escapes from prison, as he often does. Will Deadpool win with wits the next time around, or did he just create an upgraded monster, an absolute carnage? Back in the countryside, Deadpool is saying his goodbyes to Lasher and company, telling them he can't keep them because of his very busy and insane schedule. He then walks into the sunset like some kind of western cowboy, telling the slime doggo to get him and his symbiote pals back to the government, calling himself the Dr. Phil of the superpower lunatic world. Wade Wilson ponders the question, who's next? Well, that was quite the ride to Crazy Town, wasn't it? Thank you so much for watching and have an amazing day pondering the meaning of chaos. Until next time.